Okay, so this question is asking you what the most likely reason is for the difference in the yields of these two bonds, the corporate bond and the U.S. Treasury bond. Why is it that one of them is 6% yield and the other is 4% yield? Now, we know that they are option free, which means there are no options, and they are identical bonds. That means they are identical in all regards except for their yield to maturity. That means they have the same time to maturity. Identical bonds would be 10 years and 10-year bond, 30-year bond, and 30-year bond. So the answer is not going to be C. C is not the answer. The next statement says that the inflation rate is anticipated to be 3% throughout the life of the bonds. So that means each bond is identical. They're going to be affected by the same inflation by the same amounts throughout that time. So that can't explain why they have this differences in the yield. Now that leaves us with B, default risk. Now default risk is the risk associated with a corporation or the government not being able to pay back its loan payments or its bond coupon payments, and in which case it would default, sometimes go bankrupt. And if it defaulted, then the company would not give any money back to the investor, and so the investor would be at a loss. Here, there is this premium above the U.S. Treasury of what's considered the default risk. Since the corporate bond is more risky, there's a chance that as a corporation you borrow money, you don't make money, in which case it would default. And since there's that chance that the corporate bond would default, they would require a higher return or higher yield on the corporate bond versus something safer like the U.S. Treasury. That's why there's a 6% difference. There's a 2% difference between the 6% corporate bonds and this 4% U.S. Treasury bond. And you can kind of see it in this diagram here, where the U.S. Treasury is 4%. There's some amount of premium to get to the 6% corporate bonds, and that premium, which is 2%, is very likely to be the default risk, the risk associated with the corporate bond not being able to make its payments. Answer is B.